Thank you very much, Joe. Welcome to Money and Media, presented by FinCon. My name is Andy Hill, and today we're going to be talking about supporting financial coaching clients during this financial crisis we're in. Now, I'm happy to be joined by speaker, podcaster, and money coach Jillian Johnsrud. And today we're going to be speaking to Jillian about how to face this financial crisis with our clients and how money coaches in general can shine in this face of adversity. Welcome to the show, Jillian.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So there's a lot going on right now, and you're probably seeing a lot of it from the clients you're meeting with. What are some of the major problems you're seeing with your coaching clients right now?
Well, I think it's similar to everyone in America and kind of around the globe, is that we've been thrown into a season of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and just disruption of our lives and our routines and our plans. So there's definitely that energy coming onto calls and kind of that, how do we refocus? How do we maybe shift gears a little bit?
Yeah. So for some of those clients that maybe had plans for financial independence or long-term investing plans, are they shifting focuses? Are you having conversations about that shift, or how does that work? I guess it depends on the client, probably.
Yeah, I really start by helping remind them what season they're in. Are they in a season where we're trying to figure out how to play good defense? Or have they been doing a good job of that and they can kind of maybe switch to offense? So the defense things are, do they know what they're spending? Do they have a plan with a budget? Do they have an emergency fund? Have they started investing? Do they have estate planning and life insurance and all of those basics? Because if they don't have those basics, oftentimes these moments of crisis give them extra clarity or extra motivation to figure out the basics. But I do have a lot of clients who have been just playing great defense. Like, they've been doing all the right things. They've been making a lot of progress. So this is a season of how can we really, again, focus on where they want to be in 3 years. What are those goals? And what has perhaps shifted that's more possible now than it was 3 months ago? During times of disruption, new doors open up, new things become possible, and how can they be a little bit more offensive on that and a little bit more strategic and creative to perhaps get to their goals even faster?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, as somebody who's coaching entrepreneurs or people who are, managing their personal finances, you've got a lot going on right now. You've got your money coaching business, you've got kids at home. How are you staying on top of what's going on right now?
I try to, and same thing I encourage my clients. I try to set aside an hour for education / panic / sadness. Where I kind of update myself on what's happening in our state and our country and in politics, and kind of just feel all those feelings, and then create some space. Because that's a very dysregulating thing. That's a very mentally overwhelming thing. And our best ideas and our best creativity, our best strategy doesn't come from a place of dysregulation. So I try to create some space, whether it's cleaning the house or reading to the kids or cooking breakfast, to kind of self-regulate and use those tools to bring us back to kind of a calm, centered space. Then we can do some creative, strategic planning. But kind of our temptation, and I think we all fall into it to some degree, is to just sprinkle all of the bad news throughout the day. So we're always just a little anxious or a little overwhelmed or a little frustrated or sad. And it's hard to be strategic and to be creative from that place.
Yeah, I think that's you're speaking to me for sure. I was one that never really watched the news all that much. To stay on top, yeah, sure, but not really all that much on a daily basis. And now I cannot pry myself away, and it is something, as you're describing it, it's all too real. Where you want to stay on top of what's going on, but I don't really want to stay on top of everything, I guess, because it's mentally draining. Are a lot of your clients feeling that mental drain right now?
I think everyone is, whether, and like I said, I wasn't much of a news person either. I was more of like 2 articles a week, and maybe the local paper. But it's affecting when we go to the store and kids being home and things being closed down, and you can't really escape the reality that we're in. So yeah, between news and watching Tiger King, it's a whole new world here.
It's sweeping the nation, Tiger King and this coronavirus. Oh man. Okay. Well, let's talk to the money coaches out there that are listening right now, and they're thinking, hey, this is our time to do something great. What advice are you giving to some of your clients right now who are out of work and they need to figure out what to do?
Yeah, I think sometimes when surprising things come up, you just have to reevaluate. And it's a good stress test for our previous plans. For some people, I'm like, that emergency fund, you felt great about it 3 months ago. How are you feeling about it now? Does it still feel right? Your investment strategy, any of the plans that you've made, does everything still feel right in hard times as much as it did in good times? And if you have to reduce expenses, I'm definitely with the mindset of like kind of value-based budgeting. There might be new things that you value now. Things that were important to you might be less important to you. So it's a good time to say during the next, month or 3 months or 6 months, yeah, some of my priorities have shifted and I do want more cash on hand, or I want to invest more, or actually, that vacation we had planned, lower priority. We're going to reallocate that money.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to reevaluate where you are now, because now is completely different from where we were even just 4 weeks ago. It's amazing how quickly all these things have changed. So, you might be getting some questions from your clients about investing strategies or tax opportunities. If you're asked a question that's sort of out of your area of expertise, how are you handling that as a money coach?
I am always asked questions out of my expertise. That's kind of par for the course. And so and this is whether it's in business or finances or especially any specialty niche information, I always ask them to start with themselves. And instead of trying to figure out the entire picture, we kind of do a test and scale philosophy of like, what's the next right small step that you could take that would move you forward? And typically they know what that next step is. I'm a huge believer in conversations. I think conversations have one of the highest ROIs out there. So sometimes I'll prompt them, is there one person that you could ask this question to who has a good response, who might be able to give you 15 minutes, 30 minutes of expertise? And almost always they do. They know of how they figured out this kind of problem in the past. They know one person to ask, or I might direct them. If I happen to know a resource off the top of my head, I might direct them there. But it's more of a process of acknowledging where you're stuck, acknowledging what you need, and then starting to take steps towards the thing that you need to get unstuck. But I really encourage people to start to own that process themselves.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So right now you're dealing with your position as a money coach maybe in a new light. I mean, this is a recession, it's a different time. So do you feel like it's harder for you to be doing your job right now as a money coach?
I think it's more rewarding. I think it's more meaningful. It's great to cheer people on when they're making great progress and when things are going good and it's all high fives. That's fantastic. Oftentimes we're most appreciative and it's most impactful when people show up for us in our time of need and when we feel uncertain and when we feel vulnerable. And this is across life. It's great when someone brings over dinner, but it's more meaningful. If you've had a new baby or if someone's passed away in the family, that's more meaningful. So I think as money coaches, we have that opportunity to show up for people in a time of even greater need and even greater uncertainty. And even if we're bringing the exact same advice that we always do, that perspective shift to walk away from like so scared to empowered or excited. I have a lot of clients who are really excited about, I might actually be able to get to my 3-year goals much faster now than I would have otherwise. And I sent a video to my email list last week encouraging them because I'm part of the FIRE movement. So I've had the chance to be interviewed by like almost every major news outlet, probably 50, 100 times over the last few years. And every single time, I always get this one comment. By the end of the interviewer always says, well, man, it just sounds like you were so lucky. I mean, you started investing in like 2008, 2009, like right during the crash. You bought houses like in 2012 at the end of the housing recession. Like, what an amazing opportunity. Like, well, of course you're FI. It almost doesn't even count because it was so easy. And I'm like, do you all remember that crash? Like, do you remember investing in 2008? It made you want to vomit. It was horrible. It was scary and it was uncertain and everyone was panicked. And that's how we feel now. We're in the same kind of thing. And you know what? Some insensitive jerk in 12 years will be like, well, you're just so lucky. You're just so lucky because you started your business or you really started investing during the global pandemic. Like, what amazing timing. It does not feel amazing. This is what it feels like.
Yeah, well, it's a time to grow. I mean, like you said, if you have the ability to do the offense right now, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you've got a new podcast out, and it's called Everyday Courage. I wanted to ask you a question because that's a really powerful statement. Everyday courage. I wanted to ask you how money coaches right now, like yourself, can demonstrate everyday courage in the midst of what's going on right now.
You know, I think one of the most courageous things that we can do, and something that our clients have very few people who will do for them, is to not rescue them, to not fix it, to not be the most experts who come with the best advice. You know, that's what makes us feel safe and secure. I'm the expert and I'm going to show up and I'm going to fix everything for you. But that's kind of what everyone brings to the table. You ask anyone, well, how should we be handling this? And they have an answer for you. But to hold space and to help them ask themselves, where are you stuck? And let them sit there. Let them figure that out. What do you need? Let them figure that out because it's so easy to rush in with advice and to try to scoop people out of the things that they're feeling and the questions that they're asking with an easy answer. It makes us feel better. We hope it makes them feel better. But I think the scary thing, the thing that needs a little bit more courage, is to hold more space and to ask more questions. And to really trust that our clients are smart and they're creative and they're intuitive. And if we give them that little bit of space, like they will rise up. They might need a little bit of help and encouragement and insight, but they've got this.
Yeah, I think that's courageous. That's awesome. Very cool, Jillian. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about where people can find you and maybe listen to your new podcast.
Yeah, it is Everyday Courage with Jillian Johnsrud. So it's kind of where all podcasts are. My site is jillianjohnsrud.com. And for coaches or just people who like intentional living, I do have like a free 10-day video course with worksheets. And it's a good opportunity to go back to those kinds of intentional living questions, to think about your 3-year goals in this and what is more possible now than it was 3 months ago.
Yeah. Where can people find that? Is that on your website as well?
Yep.
Excellent. Well, I'll drive everybody there through the show notes. Jillian, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.